Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Once again, we're at SIEGECon. Well, actually, this afternoon we have GEL events, the Georgia Esports League, where we are playing Brawlhalla and, more importantly, Paladins, right?
Well, they're both important.
Yes, they are both important, but it's more important right here at this moment because I have with me a rock star in the Georgia gaming industry, Todd Harris. Todd, hey, how you doing? Thank you so much for taking time to speak with us on this personal interview. I was wondering if you could tell us a little about Todd Harris before you got into the gaming industry, and give us a little journey about what was it like. What all did you do throughout that gaming industry?
Cool. Yeah. So I'm a geek. My dad, when I was in 7th grade, he was an IBM programmer for 30 years. He brought home one of the very first IBM PCs off of the lot. It was actually an employee auction, and we got one of the very first ones. And that's really where I cut my teeth programming. Right. So 7th grade. Todd Harris wanted to grow up and make games, taught myself programming. It was literally started out, it was like basic out of the book. I went to the physical bookstore, which existed back in those days, kids.
Yeah.
And I bought a big book of like 101 basic games, and I typed them in. And then, not all 101, maybe 10. And then, you just start changing some variables and changing a line, and you kind of learn like, wow, this is magical. This is the close to magic spell that any human can have. Just these instructions, if I put them in the right sequence, can make things happen. So that's what inspired me to one day make games, and I went to school for computer science, did a lot of game programming as a hobbyist.
Okay.
But after I got out of school, I didn't go into the games industry. I did boring business software for a long time.
Okay. Yeah,
but
really cut your teeth in.
I did, yeah. But the silver lining was, along the way, I met an entrepreneur here in the Georgia area, and he had started some other companies, and I went to some of those companies with him, and he was a huge gamer too.
Right.
And he made literally millions of dollars with these other companies. He was a self-made millionaire.
Okay.
And instead of retiring, he turned to me one day, and he was like, I'm not going to buy a yacht. How about if we take this money and blow it making a video game company?
Oh,
and so that's kind of the dream, right?
Right.
So that was after 20 years of working in the real world, doing business software. I got a chance to rekindle that passion and start what became Hi-Rez Studios. That was 12 years ago. We started Hi-Rez.
May all of our inspiring game developers, may all of our inspiring game developers have the same fate, right?
Totally, yeah.
All right, so what was the first game that you actually built? And can you tell us anything about it?
Well, let's see, 7th grade Todd?
Sure.
Okay. Well, 7th grade Todd worked on a bunch, but probably one that I took to completion. So as you know, it's fun to dabble with games.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really hard to actually finish something. And the first thing that I actually had to finish, this is where you learn that deadlines matter. Nothing's going to get done without a due date, right? So there was one that I was doing for my sister's birthday. I had a sister who is 3 years younger, and she had a birthday. That date was not going to move. And I made a game called Stacy's Birthday Party. And so my sister Stacy, she was this was a 2D game. Okay. Her little head was on the screen, and she had to basically call all of her friends. She had to shoot the phone line. It's like a twin-stick shooter. Okay. She had to shoot the phone line and make contact with her friend, and her friend at first would have an excuse around why she couldn't come to the party. So you had to hook them 3 times, and then every once in a while the boss, which was my ugly head, would come bouncing through, and I'd disrupt the whole thing. If I got in the way, they'd run away. And so yes, Stacy's Birthday Party was the very first finished internal game that I did.
Oh, that is awesome. So, all right, let's talk about some younger Todd Harris, or some of your history in gaming. I'm assuming you're playing your own games right now, right?
Oh yeah.
So what are some of your favorite games, or what do you find yourself spending more time playing games in today and maybe in your youth?
Okay, so in my youth, again, I'm old, right? So my first game that my dad bought, before the IBM PC, we literally had the Magnavox Odyssey 2 Pong, right?
Yes.
So what we, when I scored on you, it didn't have digital scoring on the screen, right? That was too advanced. I would move the peg, the physical peg, on the board, and I'd be like, look, I got 9, you got 2.
Okay,
yeah,
really.
So that's my gaming background. But then from there, it was a lot of PC games. So I was more of a PC gamer. I mean, I played the 2600 and Coleco and Television, but more like PC games was kind of my main jam. So that was everything from like the Zork, Zork, series for Infocom, every one of those games I played, to original like Flight Simulator I spent time on, to
yes,
first-person shooters.
Buried too many hours into Flight Sim, the first Flight Sim myself.
Totally, it was great. I mean, it was crazy immersive and big environments. To Doom and Doom 2 and that whole kind of series of first-person shooters. I tended to play those the most as a genre, and so these days. It's all I can do to keep up with Hi-Rez Studios games and a few other ones that are in related genres.
Right.
So, I'm mainly playing Paladins right now.
Okay. So, Hi-Rez Studios, Smite was was that your big first game that like really helped to launch Hi-Rez into the level that you are now?
It was the first game that I'd say was a commercial success and definitely launched the studio. So it was actually our third game as a studio. So our first game as a studio was, they're beckoning us to step this way, was, no, that's good. Our first game as a studio was actually an MMO. So, first time studio, we weren't thinking small. We had crazy big ambitions.
Of course.
And that was the time when people were playing World of Warcraft and we were playing City of Heroes. And so as our very first game, we thought, let's make an MMO that also has real-time combat and a progression system, and on top of it all has player agencies controlling for territory. So the closest thing now would maybe be like a Destiny in scope, but there were only like 40 of us, and we were like, let's make an MMO. So that took us 5 years, and it was called Global Agenda, and I'm incredibly proud of it. Probably the best Hi-Rez game ever, but a little... maybe over-ambitious for our resources. So one day, maybe we'll go back and revisit that IP. But Global Agenda was the first game, and we did Tribes Ascend, Jetpacks,
that's right,
skiing, and then Smite, and now Paladins, and Hand of the Gods, and a few other games. But Smite is definitely the game that kind of let us grow as a studio, because it wasn't just a good game, it was a commercially successful game, and those two don't always happen at the same time, but fortunately with Smite they did.
Hi-Rez Studios, when you first started, how many were there?
There were four when we first started.
Yes. And now?
Now there's 400.
400.
Yep.
400. That is awesome. Paladins, the Georgia Esports Leagues, these guys are competing for up to $10,000 worth in college scholarships.
Yep.
That is awesome that they are playing Paladins. But I got a worm in my ear about a little sneak peek that's coming up. Can we talk about Paladins Strike at all?
Oh, sure, yeah. So Paladins Strike is a mobile version of Paladin. So it's not the exact same gameplay, but Paladins is a hero shooter, right? First-person shooter mechanics, and you play different heroes with different abilities. So it's a first-person shooter with a little bit of MOBA in there.
Right.
Paladin Strike is for the mobile platform, and it's a full-on MOBA. Mm-hmm. So you play the same characters, but the camera's above the map. It's isometric. You don't have to worry about aiming. You're managing your skills, that sort of thing. Really freaking fun, and really early. This is the idea of a real-time 5 versus 5 competitive game on mobile is pretty new in the U.S. It's something that's actually played a lot in Asia, and it's something we have a lot of passion for because kids are growing up with this being the computing device that I grew up with, right? It's not on the desktop. They're growing up with this. So if I can have a real-time competitive experience, we can team up with Regina there, and we can, battle. So it's pretty compelling, and hopefully it does well. We'll see. Yeah. It just in closed alpha right now, and we're going to get you a key.
Yes, please. Thank you.
And as always, we're interested in players' feedback, and we'll work with the community to make it the best game that it can be.
Right. All right. So when going from Paladins to Paladins Strike, I tend to this is one of my favorite questions to ask game developers. What would you find would be like your biggest epiphany during the process of building Paladins Strike? I mean, and the biggest challenge that you had going from, PC, console into the mobile field, because that's a completely different gameplay, because your mechanics are just a screen now.
Totally.
So what do you think like your biggest epiphany or aha moment would be?
Well,
that development?
Yeah, I mean, you're designing around the human interface elements of the controls and of the screen size, right? And so it really is all about that. In this case, we already had characters developed. We already had a basic art style. So those were the easier things because we were drafting off Paladins. But the thought was, how are you going to control this on a pretty small screen, and how are your fingers not going to get in the way of the action?
Right.
And so that was probably the biggest learning for us, and there was a lot of testing and iteration there, but we think we've got something that's really crisp and really fun, and that's what it's all about. Is it fun to move from A to B? Is it fun for me to take you down with my ultimate? Those very basic, like, visceral things need to feel good, and then you can wrap the other systems around it. So that's what we spent the most time on, and hopefully we nailed it.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. All right, curveball time.
Okay.
All right, superpowers. What is your favorite character who has a superpower? And then, what if you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be?
Oh man, that is a good question. Like when I played City of Heroes, where you could you always pick the origin of your character. You could be like magic or alien, right? I'm actually like the naturalist guy, like the guy that just trains his way to the top and doesn't actually have it. He's just like really works hard and gets there. So, like, right now, I'm a Marvel guy, but I'll have to say Arrow, because I'm watching Arrow with my son now.
Okay.
He got me into it, and he's, like, rewatching it for the 5th time, and I'm just seeing it first, right? But, like, just a badass training sequence, like, honestly, that inspires me more than anything, because it shows that, like, hard work can turn you into a badass. So I'll go with that. Of course, if I could have anything, I'm too old to work hard, so I'll go with invisibility, like easy.
Oh,
so,
good one. That's a first. I don't think I've heard
really?
that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
all right.
So overpowered.
All right, Todd, thank you so much for coming out here to Siege. Thank you so much for your support with the GGDA and also the Georgia Esports League. We really appreciate it. And more than anything else, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview.
Happy
All
to
right.
do it. All right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it. Thank you. All right.